All right, what's up, guys? It is 2:40 here where I am. Good time of day to you wherever you are in the world. I am about to go into the YouTube comments from yesterday and just sort of review some of the discussions that we had on YouTube and also on Discord, actually, now that I think about it. So today, since we actually are people are starting to ask more questions on Discord, like in my server where I have a channel dedicated for like the SAT questions and whatnot. I'll actually go through some of those questions over there as well. All right, let's get into it. So, wrong page. This is going to be used later on when I stream. Let me pull. I need to open the YouTube's comments. Give me a sec. Pew, pew, pew. All right, let me pull it in. All right. So Nariman Buzbula says there are likesex.uno. And that doesn't seem SAT related for some reason. So I'm just gonna report that. Whoa, excuse me. that came out of that came out of heaven and it struck me. Let me catch my bearings right now. So what was I doing? Okay, so this other comment that we have now. Let's see. Hey Saul, I got a 1310, 710 on math, 600 EBRW. I'm retaking, want 1400. I'm not worried, low 1400s. I'm not worried about the math. Okay, pause real quick. I love, I am happy to answer any question, even if it's extremely general. But I just find that it's really hard, at least, I don't know. I know that other people always are ready with like these quick tips. It's like, oh, use this book, and they just tell you what to do. And maybe I will start doing that, when I get better at it, but maybe it's something I can actually like develop, right? But as a person, I tend to not want to just give some general one-size-fits-all tip. It just feels uncomfortable to me to just give general one-size-fits-all tips. I prefer to actually dialogue to some extent with you and figure out like what you're actually struggling with. And once I know what you're struggling with, then do I feel a little more comfortable, at least giving ideas about what you can be doing, So yesterday I got a little, I don't know if, I wasn't feeling testy per se, but I think it came off a little testy at the end of my stream, my office hours stream yesterday. And so I apologize if that's what it felt like, if it didn't feel great. But for me, I just always find it very difficult to just answer questions when they're like, oh, what are your tips? Like, I'm not sure tips is really what you need. You need more than tips. YouTube already has millions of tips. You actually need specific diagnoses, I guess, of your actual issues, and then an actual action plan for solving those particular issues. I mean, more tips are not really going to help, I think, for most kids. So I just find it really hard to share general tips. But this LAN is asking me something, it's kind of specific. It's not extremely specific because there's not like complete analysis so far. At least I have to read the bottom half of this actually. But even just this beginning part, LAN clearly has an understanding of where his or her priorities are and what's lower priority, what's higher priority, what his or her strategy is, right? So this is this is really great. I mean, this is the kind of comment that I feel much happier to, like sort of just share freely what my thoughts are. So I just wanted to point that out real quick. Thanks, Lan, for that question. Now, I'm going to actually finish the question now. Here we go. I'm not worried about the math. Okay, we got this. With only 23 days, what would I recommend as the best way to improve EBRW? Meltzer, good. So reading, okay. So math and writing, Lan feels some confidence on like what needs to be done. So we're focusing more on the reading. So what would I say right now? For the reading in particular, you want to, like, again, I unless there really is a book that came out in the last like 10 years, because I haven't read a book in a while, not 10, maybe more like 6 years. In the last 6 years, unless there's a book that came out that's a total game changer, and from my scanning of Reddit, it doesn't seem like there has been a game changer book, okay? But unless there's some sort of game changing book that I've not heard of, I would not recommend using a book to learn how to read, because most of these test prep books don't actually improve your reading. All they do is analyze, they just categorize different question types, and then they just tell you what you're supposed to do. And as many people have experienced, that doesn't actually improve their score that much. It still feels pretty much random. So my tip for reading is to do a couple diagnoses. You only have 3 weeks, but it's never too late to start understanding what your weaknesses are. So do a couple diagnostics. And I have mentioned this in previous streams, but I'll just say it again. And when I reply to Lan later on, when I type it out, I'll actually probably just copy and paste mostly what I wrote previously, but I'll just say it again. In fact, as I say it, you might as well see what I'm talking about. So let me show it to you. So, was I not showing the screen? Oh man, I wasn't. I'm being silly. Anyway, this is Lan's comment, right? Just to recap, in case anybody lost track. Wants 1400, so wants low 700 rather than high 700s, right? So we're going for, or actually in this case wants high EBRW, probably high 600s EBRW. Okay, not worried about the math, not worried about the writing, so needs to focus on the reading. Cool. So that's the original comment. Let me actually go and find my thing about diagnose. Okay, so I'm actually gonna recap this particular comment, but so you can actually, you can actually read it on your own, but I'm gonna say it just out loud right now for everybody who's watching. So if you want to improve your reading, the first thing you really should be doing is diagnosing what your problems are. And you should just do this, like sooner rather than later. Okay, this is something you don't have to, involve many people with or anything. You can just do it right now on your own. Okay, so there's basically 3 diagnostics that I think you can use. Okay, the first one is this. Here, let me see. Let me zoom in where I wrote it. Okay. Oh no, that's over here. Read only that passage and verbally summarize the thing, what you remember. Okay? Do it out loud. Now, it's going to be very easy for you to actually compare how well you're doing, because I do this same thing in my streams, especially my more recent streams, and from now on I will always do this in my streams. After I read a passage, I'm going to stop the time, and then I'm going to summarize out loud everything I remember about that passage. Okay, and then after that I will, and then after that, I will restart time and then go into the questions. So if you watch my streams from the recent weeks, okay, you'll notice that I've been doing that, and I will also start doing that. I'll try to consist of, unless things change, until some better idea occurs to me, I will continue to do this for every single reading stream, okay? I read a passage, I'll summarize it out loud, and you will be able to compare your summary with my summary. And you might be shocked at how much I remember when I read that passage. Okay. After doing that, my advice is to compare and copy, which is specifically you should try to copy what I do. And there are many things you can copy. It just depends on what you do, right? That's different from me. Some people do things that are similar to me, but then some people have differences with me in the way they annotate. Some people have differences with me just in terms of the mental process. I mean, it just depends on what's different. Try different things, okay? Try different things and get ideas from the way I read. Okay, then the second thing to diagnose. Hey, that seems like a Turkish. Am I right? Is that Turkish? It seems like a Turkish name. I'm not sure. Beykan. I don't know how to pronounce. But hey, Beykan. I'm gonna go with Beykan until I come up with a better pronunciation. But I will come back to your question after I finish off this question. So where are we? That was how to diagnose the passage. Now, then you should diagnose the second diagnostic. You should diagnose how good your question predictions are, okay? When you do a question prediction, what that means is you read only the question stem, okay? You don't read the answer choices. Okay, so at this point you've read the passage already. You've tried to summarize it. Now you're going to read the question stem, and for the initial diagnostic, it's okay to go back to the passage and even use a dictionary. Use a dictionary, okay? Because I don't want to focus so much on the vocabulary parts of it, okay? Like, so if you need a dictionary, use a dictionary, but go through every single question and make a prediction, okay? And predict what the answer is, okay? And then when you later on, after you finish all the diagnostics, you'll be able to score yourself, and you'll be able to see whether your prediction and the correct answer were basically talking about the same thing, okay? Sometimes test takers will have the right idea in their head, but then they'll get lost with the answer choices and then choose the wrong one, right? Because of maybe vocabulary issues, or maybe because grammatically they didn't notice the shift, somewhere in the middle of the sentence of the question, right? So those are more implementation problems, okay? Those are just like technical problems of like how to do the test-taking tactics, right? Of like process elimination, blah, 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 blah. That's not what I'm trying to diagnose right now when I'm doing this. When I'm doing this, I'm just trying to diagnose, do I even know what the question's asking, and can I predict the answer, okay? So your predictions should be diagnosed separately from the actual selection of the answer choices, okay? Because that's where all the reading is. The reading is your ability to remember what the passage says, and then to be able to supply your own answers to the question stems, okay? That's the reading. Then the final diagnostic, okay, that at least I mentioned over here, the final diagnostic is then to, I didn't even mention it here, so let me just double check. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention here. So you know what? For LAN, I'm going to go and update this comment, and I'm going to write a more thorough version of it. But basically, the final diagnostic you want to be doing, okay, is when you finish a passage, okay, you might have to do this again with, like, if you did a diagnostic on the first two diagnostics on like the literature passage, then you might need to find a different passage to do this third diagnostic on, but this is more of an advanced diagnostic once you feel more comfortable with the first two. You should count, okay, out of 10 or 11 questions, how many questions you can get right reading the passage once and then reading the question stem only and not even looking back at the passage, okay? So in one go, how many out of the 10 questions can you get right, okay? Because that's more, right now, that's really important, because what that means is if you are able to get 5 questions out of 10, all right, without second guessing yourself, without even looking back at the passage, just purely based on your prediction, okay, that means your reading is getting really good. Okay, so that's for LAN. LAN is trying to take the reading test and is trying to get high 600s, you know, by the end of, like, literally in 3 weeks. So I don't know if this third diagnostic is going to be useful for LAN. But if anybody's trying to get above a 750 on the EBRW, okay, this diagnostic is going to be really important. It's really key for you because it means that you actually know how to read. And it's the only way you're going to stabilize your reading score above 750. If your reading score above, 36, 37, and then and then your EBRW score over 750. It's the only way to stabilize it, by actually being able to read it once, read the question stems, and then just know for 5 out of 10 questions what the right answer is without double checking. Okay, super important. Okay, so those are my quick tips for LAN who is aiming at high 600s for EBRW. So I will do the write-up for LAN after I finish the stream. Okay, so we're going to okay, hey Space Chimp, your hamster sold your other hamster for drug money. Is there an SAT word for this? I'm just trying to think of one. I'm like, for some reason I was thinking money laundering, but then it has nothing to do with laundering. No, spaceship. I have no idea. Do you have one? I feel like you're setting up for a joke. If you have one, I'm curious what that word is. It's called the self-own, but that's not an SAT word. So let's go to Bacon. Bacon, I'm actually going to go look up how to pronounce Bacon. Bacon pronunciation. Badyan. Badyan? Badzan? Bajan? Dude, I have... Baijan? Baijan. Is it Baijan? Let me know if Baijan's correct. Okay, that's what I'm understanding from my quick Google search. So, concluding passage and paragraph. Oh, love this question. Very specific. So close. All right. I'll look up. Since you can't talk to me, I'll just look it up again. But I'm close to Baijan, so I'm gonna go with Baijan for now. What was I doing? So this question, the concluding passage paragraph questions on the writing section, if you are close to a perfect score on the writing, okay, then this becomes very important, okay? So let's say you're only getting two wrong, maybe 3 wrong on the writing test section, okay? In that case, this particular question is becomes increasingly important. But the crazy thing is the amount of effort to go from from a raw score of 33 to 38, and then a raw score of 38 to 39, okay, and a 38 to 40. The amount of effort becomes drastically different, okay, because if you want to get a raw score of on the writing, you want to get a raw score of 36, 37, right? You want to get somewhere 4 or 5 wrong. for that, you don't actually need to read the whole passage. Like, it's fine. You can just sort of get a couple of them wrong, right? Without fully reading the passage. And then you can sort of like read the passage when you realize you need to read the passage, okay? But if you want to get consistently like a 39-40, the problem, one of the big problems is you actually have to understand the overall logical flow of the passage, because those are the questions that most of the kids are getting wrong when they're only getting 2 or 3 wrong. You know, it's very frequently, and well, if they're getting 2 or 3 wrong, one of them might be like a grammar thing, and then the other 2 would be like because they didn't really understand the flow of the passage. So if I gave you a single tip, okay, on just that, I'd say read the introduction paragraph. Always read that introduction paragraph, because the conclusion passage paragraph, if you're focused on the concluding passage and paragraph question, okay, or like the conclusion sentence, right, you almost always have to go back and read that introduction paragraph and try to remind yourself, why are we even talking about this one random exhibition, or why are we talking about this one random person again? Wasn't there like a larger trend we were talking about? Like, what was this connected to? And then if you read it in the first place, you would just sort of remember it. If you didn't read it in the first place, you'd have to kind of go back and reread it and then try to figure out what the hell is going on. Okay, so that's what that particular question requires. You need to be able to go back, read the introduction, and then go back to the question stem. And definitely with the question stem, you should read it specifically for any guidance, because this question stem oftentimes gives you guidance. Okay, so read it specifically for the guidance, and then make your answer choice. That's my general tip. Now, Baijan, if you generally get 6, it means that this kind of question is going to become more important for you pretty soon. Depending on what your goal is, if your goal is to try to get like a perfect score on the EBRW or a perfect score on the writing, then you should still definitely, try my approach, which is to read the introduction paragraph. Actually, I just read the whole thing. I read the whole thing unless there's no more questions left. But yeah, basically you should try to do that. If you're trying to get towards a perfect score. If you don't really care that much about getting like a perfect score, then you don't need to read the whole thing. And maybe you should just be okay with sacrificing that one, so that you can focus more on all the grammar ones. Okay, because all the grammar ones and all the other ones are a little easier to get. They don't require you to change your whole test taking strategy just to get those correct. You can still use the original test taking strategy to do that. 1480 plus, but what's the math? Okay, so get rid of the math. What's just the EBRW? But I think I basically already covered my bases, right? So if you're not aiming for like 15, so 680, you're trying to get high 600s, right? Yeah, I basically stand by it. You don't really have to follow my advice about reading the whole thing, because you should be fine. Just without doing, like, focusing more on the grammatical parts of the writing. Okay, if you want to do that. So, Baijan, if you come back to office hours next time, between now and then, just look back at the last 3 or 4 practice tests that you took, and look back at all of the ones that you got wrong. Okay, and so if you have 6 wrong, if you have 5, 6, 7 wrong, right? So that's about 25 questions that you'll have, okay, to look at. And out of those 25 questions, try to categorize them. Like, which ones do you get wrong? Which ones do you get wrong? Oh, don't categorize them the way that like Erica Meltzer or like these writing teachers do it. Just do it more subjectively. Which questions of these seem easy to me, and which questions of these seem hard to me, right? Like easy in the sense that, as long as I learn it, I can definitely improve on these. Versus hard is, this learning process might be a little hard, and even if I do learn it, I'm not sure I'll fully be able to get this right. Okay, so just divide those into the ones that are easier for you and the ones that are harder for you, and then and then figure out of the easy ones, which ones are more, are they more grammatical in nature? Are they more sentence ordering and paragraph structure in nature? Or are they more introduction conclusion in nature? Like look at, then start using like the Erica Meltzer or like the grammar book categorizations to figure out what the problem is, okay? But focus on the easy ones. Don't focus on the ones that are super hard if you're not trying to get a perfect score. Focus on the ones that like, oh, I learn it, I'm done, right? So that's where you want to go. Yeah. And awesome, Bajan. That'd be awesome. I'd be very curious how that goes. Space chimp, I guess you didn't have a word for that. Jeez. Just, you know, for the life, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm a little mellow today. I just cannot think of a word right now. My answer, the only word I have is self-own. Prostitution. I don't know what that is. Okay, so I'm gonna review some of the conversations that we had in Discord, and share my answers, and then that'll be probably the rest of office hours for today. Let me open up Discord. Okay, so lots of conversation. You know what I should do? I should pin it next time. But did we only have one question right now? No, we had a couple questions. So let me just find. Oh yes, we had a couple questions. So let me find a couple. Let me find them. So yesterday, this was one of the questions. This was from like a March International somewhere. I don't know. Is what they said. I'm not sure. I haven't seen this particular question before. Let's look at question 11. The question was basically, how the hell am I supposed to know what the right answer is between A, B, C, D? Dissidences, divergences, diversities, and disagreements. Okay? This question is really good for learning a very important principle for vocabulary on the SAT. The vocabulary on the SAT, in this case, out of these 4 words, there's only 2 that might be considered hard, okay? The 2 easy words should be diversity and disagreement. The 2 hard words are divergence and dissidence. But even these hard words are not words that, if you took like AP World History, some kids take like AP World History in their sophomore year. If you took AP World History in your sophomore year, right, you definitely would know both of these words by the time you take the SAT. Like, definitely. There's no way you wouldn't. You can't avoid these words, right? So the words here are not like they're not uber hard. You know, they're not like, this one word that I learned that I no longer, eleemonistery. I forgot the word. It has something to do with charity and gift giving. They're not like these crazy words, okay, that you see on all those vocab lists for the SAT. These are pretty normal words, okay? They will definitely come out in the course of your high school curriculum, okay? So why is this hard? It's hard not because you've not seen the words, it's because you haven't used the words and you haven't really properly investigated how the words can mean something but can be used in different ways, right? That's the main thing. So here's my tip for this. The tip for this is, again, whenever you read a sentence, whenever you read this, a vocab and context question, just blank this out, okay? Just right now I don't have since this is Discord, I can't really use a tool to block out the word, but just pretend this area right here is white. It's just a blank, okay? Then read as much as you need to understand what this sentence is even saying. So the sentence is saying that the findings suggest that dogs can individuate or discriminate or identify objects by type, okay? It's not just humans and apes, it's also dogs. The blanks in the later trials, but trials means experiments, the blanks in the later trials only emphasize how flexible dogs' searching behavior can be. All right? So the blanks in the later trials would mean, like the differing results, the conflicting outcomes, the conflicting findings, the results that the results that seem to differ with these above, right? The contradictory results. Sure, we can use any of those. So just supply your own phrase in there, and you're looking for something like conflicting, contradictory, differing blank results, right? The differing results in the later trials. So what's the closest word for that? That's definitely divergences. If you didn't know that, then you should go and learn to use a dictionary a little better, okay? The dictionary Google is not a dictionary. All Google does is it gives you one definition usually, sometimes two, and the etymology. It's not a dictionary. You know what a dictionary does? A dictionary actually shows you example sentences and example phrases for every single word. And they even collect a wealth of different examples so that you can actually see how it's used, right? And when you see it, you can actually learn to kind of get like a feel for why it's the right answer. Let me actually show it to you. Okay. Vocabulary.com in particular is aimed at students. So Vocabulary.com actually does a plain language explanation of what divergence means in full sentences, right? The point where two things split off. And then at the bottom, it gives the classic sort of dictionary definitions with the synonyms and, like categories, okay? This is super useful. Now you can connect this word to a bunch of other words and learn not just one word at a time, but learn 3 or 4 or 5 words at a time, right? You can connect it all. But more to the point, okay? Vocabulary.com tries to explain when you use these words, okay? So you can actually read this, and I think it's pretty helpful. But then you can actually look at the different types of usage examples that came out in. And you can even click on the links to actually find the original source. But if you look here, right, it gives you different types of sources. And if you specifically want to see how it's used in business, then you can look at how it's used in business. And this will give you a much better sense of how these words work. Most of you guys have a really shallow relationship with your words. You just learn it once and then you think you know it. Okay? Try saying that to the next time you have a single date with a girl or boy. It's like, oh, we dated once. I know you in and out, inside and out. Try saying that. I mean, see how far that gets you. Because you really don't. You really don't know the definition of a word until you are able to use that word at least 10 times, like in different sentences, and they all sound natural. Okay, if you can't do it, you don't really know that word. So strengthen your relationship with these words. That was the first one from Discord. Let's see if we can zoom in on another question that people shared. One question was, has the College Board been increasing the focus on vocabulary? And the question is no. The answer is no. The College Board continues to try to not care that much about whether you know really difficult words. Okay, everyone's all studying words like acrimonious, which I guess with that one you kind of should know, but still it's not the most high priority. Okay, they're all trying to learn words like mellifluous, You know, they're trying to learn words like I don't know, paraphernalia. And sure, they're all useful. It's good to know. But the College Board doesn't test that anymore. It used to. The old SAT used to do that. You know, they used to directly test you. But it's not really the focus of the SAT anymore, and it's not changing. So if the question is the College Board increasing the emphasis on vocab? No, they're not. It's always the same. If you feel like you're making more mistakes on the vocab, it probably means that your vocab was just not that strong in the first place. And to strengthen your vocab, you shouldn't just be memorizing, 5,000 words for the SAT or 2,000 words for the SAT. You shouldn't just be memorizing them. You should actually be looking at the kinds of words that do come on the SAT, and then making sure like you develop your relationships with them. Like, hey, do I know how to use these words? And try to use these words in your daily speech. My most general advice is go to vocabulary.com and then just do the challenge, okay? Do the challenge, vocabulary.com/play, and then just keep using vocabulary.com every day, like 10 minutes a day, and then just improve your vocabulary a little bit every single day, and you'll be in a much more solid place. And then we had this other question over here. Oh, this was a writing question, and I answered this a little earlier today. The researchers calculated the trajectories of these stars to determine their past locations and made a key discovery. 90,000 years ago, one of the stars was positioned in a supernova. See, you noticed how I paused after discovery? It would be crazy to say, and made a key discovery 90,000 years ago. Why would that be crazy? It'd be crazy because this modifier, okay, this adverbial phrase, this modifier, should not be describing this clause. The researchers calculated the trajectories of these stars and made a key discovery, and they did all of this in 90,000 years ago? No. This 90,000 years ago should be describing this clause. One of the stars was positioned 90,000 years ago in what are now the faint remains. So what's the easiest way of doing this? Move this colon over to the left side and then put a comma here. So then you should be looking for that colon, and then this is the only one with the correct colon. So you should choose C. Now, the reason that the student got it wrong was because the student was really confused. How come this doesn't have a comma? And the student is right to point out that there should be a comma here, and it would be better if this clause had a comma. But it's not necessary. It's not absolutely necessary. Whereas this colon is absolutely necessary. Okay, so make sure that you don't get confused on that. Besides that, I don't think there were any. There might have been another question or two that I missed, but yeah, I think those are the main ones from the SAT. Sorry, from the YouTube comments and the Discord. So that's basically my review of all the comments from yesterday. Okay, guys. So with office hours, I'm no longer going to be doing the reading and whatnot. I'm going to separate the reading and the vocabulary and all that stuff into a separate stream, make it its own thing, because I do feel like it's actually a little, for some reason it just feels a little unnatural to put both of those together. So yeah, I'll be reviewing comments that you guys leave me on YouTube and and discuss in Discord, and I'll be reviewing them the following day for as long as I can. Okay, so guys, feel free to ask as many questions you have, and good luck with all your studies. I know it can get a little tough at times, but the key thing to focus on is to grow a little bit every single day. I hope you're growing today. Good luck out there. I'll see you guys in the next stream. Peace.